Hey guys, this is Ice from the Third World Wallet, and for this video I want to talk about something that a term or a concept that's thrown around in the Bitcoin space a little bit, and this is called SAT dollar parity. But since I'm a Filipino and I live in the Philippines and I spend in pesos, I'm gonna be talking about SAT peso parity. Now imagine this. Imagine a future where 1 peso would equal to 1 Satoshi. And I want to preface this by saying that this is not financial advice, but I'm going to explain to you why this matters, why this concept matters. Now, SAT peso parity is when 1 Satoshi equals 1 peso. In one whole Bitcoin, there are 100 million Satoshis. And it's important to note that, when a lot of people look at Bitcoin and how much it costs, people get unit bias and are afraid to buy into Bitcoin because they're gonna think, oh, ang mahal nun. It's 6 million pesos for 1 Bitcoin now. Di ko afford yun. But if you understand that, or when you know that 1 Bitcoin can be further divided into 100 million smaller units, which are called Satoshis, then you can buy fractions of those. And I'm going to explain in this video why Bitcoin works so well as a savings tool when you understand this concept of SAT peso parity and buying fractions of a Bitcoin. So, with the fact that you can buy Satoshis or small fractions of a Bitcoin, you can, in a sense, regularly save every week or every day or every month. You can set aside a certain amount of your pesos, whatever you're comfortable with, and you can stack Satoshis. That's another concept that's thrown around, keep stacking sats. So you can put as much money as you're comfortable with away and for savings and put it into Bitcoin. And this is why this is where SAT peso parity comes in. Now, when 1 Satoshi equals 1 peso, the price of Bitcoin would have to roughly be 100 million pesos. But in dollar terms, that's around $1.8 million per Bitcoin. Now, at the current price, it's around 108,000 US dollars or around 6 million pesos. And you look at it, and for Bitcoin to go from 6 million to 100 million sounds like such a long shot. It sounds almost impossible that it won't happen. But I'll give you here some of the reasons why I believe that it will happen in the future. How long in the future? I don't know. But I believe that this will happen within our lifetimes. So, this is another concept that you have to remember. Bitcoin supply is fixed. This means that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin in existence. And that 21 million can be bought by other people. We're roughly 8 billion people in the world. Roughly around that range. And Bitcoin is something that's accessible to everyone around the world. Given right now, the adoption is still early, not that much people know about Bitcoin and how scarce it is. So, if you would be able to buy a lot of Satoshis now. But as time goes on, more and more Bitcoin is mined and bought, it becomes even more scarce, more rare to be able to buy more Satoshis. If I were to give an analogy for this, think about it like property, where you could buy property in a decent area back in the day, like 1990s or 1980s. And if you look at the price back then compared to the price now, it has grown so much in value. Especially if you're talking about areas in, let's say, BGC, or let's say Mandaluyong or Makati. these prices have grown so much so fast in within our lifetimes. We've seen it. To quote Michael Saylor says that Bitcoin is like digital real estate. And I know a concern that a lot of you might have, and it's a concern that I had, is that the Bitcoin price is volatile, meaning that it keeps going up, down, up, down, up, down. Yes, it's volatile, but if I want to quote Michael Saylor again, he says that the volatility of Bitcoin is not a bug, rather it's a feature, because volatility means vitality. It's that idea that Bitcoin is a form of sending, receiving, and storing value. So people that have bought Bitcoin back in the day, let's say 2012, 2017, they're looking at their Bitcoin stack and could be seeing that it's grown so much, so they can afford to take some off the table, sell it to someone else on the market in order to either pay for expenses or reward themselves for holding it for so long. Because holding it for as long as the OGs did way back in 2012, 2017, they held it through so much dips and so much uncertain points. They held it through the pandemic, they held it through FTX crash, and mind you, these people that are selling nowadays, these guys bought Bitcoin before the institutions even considered or looked into Bitcoin and started buying it. If you're looking at videos and news on Bitcoin, you'll see that there are big name players like MicroStrategy, BlackRock, and a couple more other companies worldwide in the US, in the UK, in Japan. They're buying Bitcoin as treasury assets, meaning that they're going to buy as much Bitcoin as they can and they won't let go of it, essentially making Bitcoin more rare as the days go by. And I want to talk about that idea that Bitcoin will only become more rare as time goes on, and the amount of Bitcoin that everyone can buy is limited. I remember seeing somewhere that if everyone in the world was to own an equal amount of Bitcoin, it would equal to around 250,000 Satoshis roughly, if I'm not mistaken. That's if every single person in the world had a certain amount of Bitcoin that they can hold. It can be equally divided with 250,000 Satoshis. And we have companies like BlackRock, MicroStrategy, that every week they're eliminating everyone's fair share of holding Bitcoin, and they're locking it away and putting it away forever. And when they do that, Bitcoin's price will keep going up, and it will go up to a point where one Satoshi would equal to 1 peso. Now, when that happens, it's not too late to get into Bitcoin, but know that if you were to buy Bitcoin now, 1,000 pesos, or no, sorry, yes, 1,000 pesos will get you roughly around 10,000 Satoshis. But imagine in that future when Peso Parity happens, 1,000 pesos will only get you 1,000 Satoshis. It's not impossible. You could still buy and you could still save in that. But if you're looking at the value of what it is now, what you can get for your money now, and project it into a time when Peso Parity happens, it works great as a savings tool. As long as you can keep it secure, keep it in self-custody, and make sure you don't forget the keys or how to transact and how to use your Bitcoin, you can save as early as now and benefit when SAT peso parity happens. Bitcoin should be mainly seen as a savings tool, where it gains value over time. Yes, it's volatile, but it's only volatile to the upside. And you want to be able to capitalize on that as early as now. Technically, we're not too early, but we're not too late. So I would encourage anyone watching this video, and if they live in the Philippines, to not wait for SAT peso parity to happen before you buy your first amount of satoshis. I would start DCAing as soon as I can and see what Bitcoin is, learn how to use the Bitcoin network, understand why Bitcoin is the best asset in the world, and to hold through the volatility. Those people that held through every downturn, every crash, they're rewarded as time goes on. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments when you think SAT peso parity might happen or will happen, or if you agree with my thoughts or not. Let me know. And that's all for now. Thank you and bye.